Hi, this is Andrew Sears. I'm the Executive Director of Tech Mission, and I'm just going to give you a little bit of introduction to what it's like to be a City Vision intern and to set some expectations. So the goals of the intern orientation are to provide a background on City Vision internships as a program to help you have a successful internship and provide you with the equipment and tools that you'll need for that, and set expectations and to provide training on policies and requirements of the internship. So just to tell you a history of the City Vision internships, it was founded out of the Christian nonprofit parachurch ministry called Tech Mission, which was founded in 2000. Tech Mission's placed over 500 AmeriCorps interns. It ran an AmeriCorps program. Many of you are probably familiar with AmeriCorps programs. It's kind of the domestic version of the Peace Corps. People spend a year serving in various service capacities, and we ran an AmeriCorps program. That program had about 70 ministries, served 22,000 youth, and matched over 68,000 volunteers. We decided to leave AmeriCorps in 2013 due to increasing government restrictions on faith-based organizations and just in general our ability to innovate. And we've tried to run something very similar to AmeriCorps, and we've called it the City Vision Internships Program. So to explain to you how City Vision Internships fits within Tech Mission is the parent organization. We have 3 programs, City Vision Internships, and we have about 50 sites around the country for that. We have City Vision University, which is owned by Tech Mission, and we have 5 degree programs: addiction studies, nonprofit management, urban missions, technology and ministry, and business administration. And then we have several websites: christianvolunteering.org, urbanministry.org, ILS Nova GED, which you can provide to your program participants for free, and Christians in Recovery. And we get about a million or so visitors to our website. And our mission is to transform the world through Jesus, justice, and technology. City Vision University was founded as Rescue College in 1998 out of the Association of Gospel Rescue Missions. It was accredited in 2005, and it was transferred to Tech Mission in 2008. We have some pretty good statistics for our students. A lot of our students graduate, a lot of our students get jobs, and a lot of our students come from lower income backgrounds. So I would say we get a lot of students who are either often in the bottom half income wise, and that's why a lot of them get Pell Grants. And we're one of the lowest cost Christian colleges in the country. Each of our degree programs is the lowest cost online degree program of their type in the country, and our internship program makes it even more affordable for you. So there's 3 types of internships. You're going to be in one of these 3 types, either a work-study intern, and that is if you don't have a bachelor's degree, that's the only category you can be in unless you're a summer intern. An MBA fellow, that would be if you have a bachelor's degree and you want to get an MBA. And a paid internship would be if you have a bachelor's degree and you just want to intern without necessarily the education. So if you are doing work study or a paid internship, most sites will be providing housing if needed. And if you're doing work study and MBA program, then you get free tuition. And in terms of the other benefits, if you're a work study student and you get a Pell Grant, then your Pell Grant will actually get paid to you at the end of each term. As you complete the term, you'll get a payment of 1/5 of whatever amount of your Pell Grant, which ends up being about $1,100 for most people. And that's paid to you as a stipend by City Vision. So if you received an offer, you're asking, okay, what do I do next? So if you're a work-study undergrad intern, you need to enroll in City Vision College. You can do that on our website, and then whenever you go through, it's just a cart system, and you select the payment method organization will pay. That makes it so that you don't have to pay anything whenever you apply. You should also complete federal financial aid. It's called the FAFSA, and You can follow the procedures, but be sure to enter our school code so we'll have your information, and if you get a Pell Grant, that'll make it so that we can process your Pell Grant. And then after you apply, you can register for courses. And again, it's very easy. It's a cart system, kind of like Amazon.com, and you just add the courses in, and then you say the site will pay, and you won't be billed. You coordinate a start date for your site. You sign an internship site with your contracts with your site. And I would also recommend, if your courses are coming up, you need to order the books. And I believe, I can't remember, some sites I think pay for books and some sites may not. You can look at the details of that in your internship contract. So for free undergraduate interns, you must spend 15 hours per week studying on site. The way we do it at Tech Mission, this is what we recommend to all sites, is that you have a 9-hour workday, 5 days a week, and you have 3 hours that's spent studying per day, so that's your 15 hours, and you can take your lunch break in that time, and that should be enough time to get through a good amount of your material, but you'll also have to take a good amount of homework too. And then most sites for undergrad interns will work either 29 or 30 hours on top of that. Sites aren't supposed to have you work more than 30 hours, and they've been told if there's a week where you're busy, they might have a week where you work over 30 as long as there's comp time. And you are required to make passing grades in your courses to continue your internship. You and your site director will receive notifications for late assignments, and interns not completing courses is one of the main reasons why people are dropped from the internship. So failing courses and not doing courses is basically the same as not doing your job. So that's something that is important. For MBA fellows, it's the same step except there's a graduate application. It's a little bit more complicated because the first half of your MBA you're going to be taking with City Vision. The second half you take through Bakke University. Bakke awards the MBA, and you actually have to apply through Bakke and do their financial aid process and enter their school code through their process. And most students will take the City Vision courses first, but some of the Bakke courses may be only offered, once a year, so sometimes you might want to take a Bakke course while you're taking City Vision courses. So the internship commitment is at least for a year. We're based on the AmeriCorps model. AmeriCorps is based on the military. And in the military, you drop out, you are called going AWOL if you drop out without permission. In the military, they actually send you to jail. With AmeriCorps, they don't send you to jail, but it's not considered favorably. So we're not AmeriCorps, but at the same time, the site's committing to you. So you need to commit to at least 1 year. It may be renewed upon mutual agreement. You should know that we had over 500 applicants each year for usually 50 slots. So if you don't finish that, and you've taken up a slot from someone, so we want you, if at all possible, to try to finish your year. And if you're an undergraduate intern and you want to transition to a graduate intern, then that's something you can do if mutually agreeable. Most interns will stay at the same site until they graduate. You can request relocation, but we almost never have relocated anyone because it essentially means another site hiring you, and that rarely happens. So I would say out of maybe 20 people who requested relocating, we might have placed one. So that's something to think about. There is going to be an academic mentor from your site that's assigned to you. If you don't have an academic mentor, be sure you talk with your site and make sure that your site director has gone through our training. But the site director is going to function as your mentor. They're going to be given to a City Vision login. They'll receive email notifications. Some of their responsibilities, just so they know, is that some of it is accountability. I do accountability. I'm a president of a college and executive director of a nonprofit. I have guys that I'm accountable to. I have a board that I'm accountable to, and they make sure that I do what I'm supposed to do. So City Vision, being a little different than AmeriCorps, a big part of it is, unless you're just a paid position, a big part of it is advancing your academic career. So we want to have some academic accountability. The other thing your mentor does, it isn't just accountability. It's go to them and tell them what you're learning in your courses, and you can ask them if there's opportunities to gain related practical experience. If you're learning about grant writing, ask if you can see some of your organization's grants. If you're learning about financial stuff, ask if you can see some of your organization's financial information. That doesn't mean they're going to turn over grant writing to you for the organization, or you're going to become the organization's accountant, but they can maybe provide you with some opportunities to learn more in that area. The mentor should be encouraging you in your academic progress, and if you have late homework notifications, they'll talk to you about them. They can log in and monitor your grades, and they also know that if students aren't taking academics seriously, then they can write you up. I've had staff or interns that are here. We actually take interns directly here at Tech Mission, and I've had people that I've had to write up at work and dismiss because they're not taking academics seriously. So for those of you who are graduate interns, they may not be quite as strict because you're expected to be a lot more responsible, but at the same time that means that you need to be keeping things in order yourself. So you'll see these anytime you're late. In email, you'll see that you have an assignment that's overdue. You should know that your mentor will also receive these emails, and usually what I do whenever I get them is I'll just email the person and say what's going on, and usually they'll wrap it up within a week or two. If you start having them, if you see them that they're 2 weeks late, 3 weeks late, then that's the time that I start talking to interns saying, do you want to do this program or do you want to be dropped? So in addition, your site, whenever you take exams, you're going to have a proctor. So because we're an online institution and our exams are a closed book, proctor, one of the main things they do is they make sure that you're following, you're not cheating on the exam. So just like if you're in a classroom. But they also will make sure that, they'll check your government issued ID unless, there's someone who already knows who you are. And often if it's your mentor, they'll know who you are. And then they'll be the one that gives you the access to the online test. You won't have access to the test until the proctor does it. So there's a proctor application where they can do that, and then they'll be given access to a page that has the passwords to access the exams. And then the proctor submits the exam once you're done. So one of the key things for interns is to focus on financial sustainability. Our interns typically are serving the poor or low-income communities, and part of our philosophy is you live among them and you understand how they're living. So in many cases, our interns will qualify for food stamps. And usually, that's $200 free money. We've had, people come from middle-class families and they'll apply for food stamps for the first time doing it, and we'll have people who come from poor families and they're familiar with it. Either way, in most cases it's $200 a month worth of free money. So a lot of our interns will do that. You can fundraise as an urban missionary from your church using an online fundraising tool for causes like firstgiving.org to process your donations. And if you're a student, then be sure you apply for financial aid. So undergrad can only get Pell. Loans, you can get loans if you're a graduate student. We don't encourage you to have loans, so if at all possible, don't have loans as a graduate student. Undergraduate interns cannot get student loans and get the intern discount. That means if you get student loans, you're going to have to pay the full tuition, which isn't recommended. So as we get financial aid, it will be paid to the intern as cash as we receive them, since your tuition's already paid for. So if you have free housing, then that's not taxable, but some ministries will pay a housing stipend that's paid directly to a landlord, and if they pay it directly to the landlord, that also is not taxable. Another policy is just recognizing you can't take a second job. Interns that try to take a second job, we start to explain to them that they need to transition out of the internship. And if health insurance is needed, a lot of interns will qualify for Medicaid or state-sponsored health insurance. And in most states, if you don't qualify for those and you work more than 29 hours, if you work 30 hours, I think a lot of ministries are required to pay for some basic health insurance. So you can talk with them about that. The rules vary from state to state, so talk with them. So another thing to emphasize is communication with technician. Your site supervisor is your supervisor. Technician is not your supervisor. We will not get in the middle of conflict. We've had interns in the past try to do like my kids do, where they don't like the answer from mom, so they go ask dad. We don't get involved. The only exceptions we'll have to that are these here. One is that sites that work student interns more than the required hours, where it starts to impair your studies. That's one. Two, sites that violate the law or the terms of the internship contract. Three, sites that do not pay their fees to technician or City Vision. And four is sites that have programs that end due to financial reasons or that provide no supervision. We've had sites that a program lost funding, and then the intern didn't have anything to do, or their supervisor got fired, or the funding for their position got fired. So get us involved in those situations, but we're not going to overrule your boss unless they're violating a policy. So site payments, you should know your site has to pay us $700 every term, whether or not you take courses for undergraduate, and $1,000 for graduate. That ends up being $3,500 for undergraduate interns and $5,000 for graduate interns. If an intern doesn't complete the full year, then the site only pays the fee up to the time the intern left, and the site fee is the same regardless of the number of courses you take, if any. The site payment due dates are due typically a couple weeks before the term is done, and the payment for the intern is not tuition, again, emphasizing regardless of whether interns take courses. The reason why we do it that way is our whole program is based to get you experience, but to also get you improve your academic qualifications. So our biggest program is a university, and it doesn't make sense for our interns that don't have degrees or are trying to work for graduate degrees, if they're not working and taking their courses. So there are some paid interns, and those the site just pays a placement fee, and then some are interns, it's a one-time placement fee. So some of the other intern policies, work study intern undergraduate work structure is either 29 or 30 hours as an intern, 15 hours doing on-site study with lunch break, so total work week of 45 hours per week. Graduate interns, 35 hours per week. The study's on your own time. I would still encourage you to maybe build it into your workday. And then paid interns, it's 40 hours a week. So you're going to follow whatever your site's sick, vacation, holiday policy is. Ask your site. Most sites will have some sort of manual that will explain that. If they don't, then we recommend that interns get 15 combined sick and vacation days, not counting holidays. So interns follow whatever site policies that your site has, as long as those policies don't violate the law or the internship contract. And most sites will have some sort of list of policies. So here are some things to talk through with your supervisor. One, find out who is your supervisor, who's going to be your go-to person. If possible, schedule a regular schedule for serving, and also, if possible, a regular schedule for meeting. I meet with all the people I supervise once every 2 weeks or once every week. So that can be helpful just to have a check-in meeting with your supervisor. Find out what's expected of you. Try to get your job description. Sometimes they'll have a written job description. Things will have changed, and they'll get updated, and you'll have to find out that. Find out who you need to go to for help. What you should do if you're going to be late. Generally you're always going to call someone if you're going to be late, or if you're sick. Be sure you get contact information, find out rules, especially how to interact with other staff and those you're serving. A lot of times there's very strict policies on working with children and things along those lines. And then, ask them this question: what makes a good intern? One of the things I was taught, and I often teach people, that a good intern is fat. So, and that stands for three things: faithful, available, and teachable. So faithful means you keep your commitments. You don't just think of yourself as a volunteer. People are depending on you. If you're going to miss a session or be late, call, but treat it like you would a job. And part of this experience is that to train you in responsibility. Faithfulness also means being loyal to those, your supervisor. Don't gossip or backbite. The available part means that often in ministry I find that people who advance the most aren't necessarily the people with the great qualifications. It's the people who just make themselves available. The 12 disciples, why did they become the 12 disciples? It wasn't because they were great. It's because Jesus said, follow me, and they followed. So it's just willing to do whatever's needed, expect to sacrifice. If they need the trash taken out, take the trash. They need the toilet cleaned, take the toilet cleaned. And then teachable is, ask people what the staff, the clients, the community needs, instead of assuming that you know. Ask how you can be helpful instead of assuming that you know, and just being flexible. A lot of times people will come from a different background. They haven't done urban ministry before, but they've been a great leader in other contexts, and they realize that they have to start over. In many ways, because they may not have the cultural competency needed in urban ministry, and it requires being teachable. And if you go to urban ministry conferences, and one of the top things they say is learn from the poor. But along with that, as an intern, you'll learn some from the poor, but you're going to learn more from your supervisor. Your supervisor's probably been working with the poor for a long time, so there's a lot of times there's reasons why things are done, and you may not understand them, but try to understand them and be teachable. So one of the last things is that we will ask maybe once or twice a year that you fill out a form that just summarizes some of the outcomes of your sites. And I don't want you to spend a lot of time on this, so we want you to minimize kind of the work. And if you need to, you can estimate on that. And basically we're going to ask, for the programs you're involved in, and you may be involved in more than one program, how many program participants were there? How many volunteers were there? And if you have any end outcomes, certain number of people got promoted, graduated, completed, made decisions to follow Jesus, whatever those things are. So the last thing I want to explain is that we've expanded our benefits for sites. So it used to be that only interns got this discount, the $3,500 a year, but with internship sites, we've decided to offer that same discount to all staff and to all program participants. So you may be working in an adult education program or recovery program, and you can tell them, hey, I'd love for you to, if they just got their GED or if they have a high school diploma, say, why don't you get enrolled in City Vision College? And they can take courses, $350 a year or $350 per course. And often they'll qualify for a Pell Grant, and that's going to leave them with $2,200 of income that they can use for other things. It's also available to employees in the organization, so if you meet other employees. And then if your organization has some sort of rigorous training program, maybe you have a discipleship program or a Bible school or some sort of vocational program, we can actually grant college credit. So come talk to us about that. And then the last thing is for people who are entrepreneurial, you might have an adult training program or a college readiness program, and you could run a tutoring center where they get charged and you tutor them for college. And basically you can go to our website under the partners tab. You can find out more, but the way it works is the student could be charged we'd charge $3,500 for tuition, but then you could provide some tutoring support and then bill that student, you could do that locally as a part of the program. So we could talk with you more about that. So if you have any questions, email info@cityvisioninternships.org or call us at 617-282-9798. Thanks a lot, and I hope you have an amazing internship. Thanks. Bye.